Okay, so we know that Western European nations were sending explorers out to all over the world, trying to find new routes to Asia, trying to find new lands, whatever. So what was happening in Eastern Europe and China? Like the nations in Western Europe, Russia had also had access to this new shipping technology and sent ships north into the Arctic Ocean, seeking a route to East Asia. But geographically, they just had some disadvantages. Russia is very high up in latitude, and icy conditions hampered these Arctic Ocean endeavors. At the same time, Russia was expanding its land empire across Siberia, and it actually didn't enter the Pacific until the 17th century. European rivals closer to the Atlantic had geographic advantages when it came to exploring the Americas. Other nations in Central and Eastern Europe had limited access to the sea, meaning they were landlocked, and or they were not yet organized well enough to send expensive expeditions across the world. These expeditions were very, very expensive. So what was going on in China? In the early 15th century, China sent fleets of ships to the Indian Ocean region as a show of might and because of sheer curiosity about the world beyond its borders. They sent these enormous treasure ships that were 400 feet long and carried thousands of sailors commanded by the Chinese Muslim Admiral Zheng He. Columbus's biggest ship in comparison to these Chinese treasure ships was the Santa Maria, and it was only about 70 feet long. So you can imagine how massive these ships were and how incredible they were to see. Zheng He lived during the Ming Dynasty, which we'll talk about later, and these treasure voyages really enhanced the prestige of the Chinese. And what he did, he would go to these different lands and he would bring back to the Ming court all kinds of animals, plants, goods, and people from Africa, India. But about 28 years after his first exploration, he'd gone on 3 of these explorations. The Ming Emperor's advisors convinced Zheng He that the expeditions were just too expensive and that China had little to gain from them. Because they reasoned that the Middle Kingdom, or China, was the greatest kingdom in the world, and they didn't really need to know anything else or buy anything else from anybody. They were the best. So as the Portuguese began a series of explorations along Africa's west coast, China actually chose to withdraw the treasure ship fleets from the Indian Ocean. And what's really frustrating as historians is that China had the capacity to sail in force anywhere it wanted to go, but they just simply refused.